And nervous.
Yeah.
Yes.
You don't have to be, it's not going to be that bad.
Really? Because that's a big needle. Okay. Cecilia Osterholm starts her day with this new technology. She swapped her keys for a chip in her hand that uses a radio signal to open doors. You have a chip in your hand there?
That's right. It's been inserted there.
Right, so that's how do you open it? Just like that. So obviously what I really want to know is how much it hurts.
It does hurt a little bit, but it's like a basic vaccination shot, so it's not too bad.
Her office, Epicenter in Stockholm, connects big corporations like Microsoft with fast-growing companies. And for the first time in a workplace, all 700 employees here have been given the chance to use the technology to become more efficient.
So if you hold the phone against my chip, you will get my contact details.
Look, that's you. In the movies, from Matrix to Minority Report, we've watched technology take over our lives.
It's a smart house.
It even happens in Annie.
Think it and it shall appear.
And now it's coming true in real life.
If you don't need keys to access your building, if you don't need credit cards or PIN codes and things like that to do purchases, those are things that will really simplify your life.
Life for me was about to get simpler. And you know what they say, no pain, no gain. So the chip in here is quite small, right?
Yeah, it's super small. It's like a grain of rice. So take a deep breath and exhale.
Ow. That hurt. And with that, I became part man, part machine. Right, cue the superhuman music, guys. Here comes the big reveal. Here on my left hand, you can still see the mark, is where that chip has been inserted into my hand. Now I am going to take this cyborg hand, I'm going to place it up against the reader here. There's a little blue...
Tommy Thompson to its board of directors. Company hoping the former Health and Human Services Secretary can help accelerate the use of RFID for healthcare and security applications. Joining us to discuss the future of RFID and his plans for Verichip, Tommy Thompson, former Health and Human Services Secretary, and Scott Silverman, Chairman and CEO of Applied Digital. Gentlemen, thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you. It's an honor to be on your program.
Mr. Thompson, I'll start with you. We're doing a poll today. Would you have one of these things implanted in your arm or, I don't know, under your scalp or wherever you put it?
You put it in your right arm, and it's very small, and it doesn't bother you at all, but it certainly is going to allow you to identify who you are, protect your child. If you have a new child that's born in a nursery, you can protect that child from having somebody walk off with it. You can also protect your loved ones in a nursing home so that you can put a bracelet on and identify that individual and be able to find that individual if that person wanders away. But I certainly would, and I think it's a coming thing. And the problem is that medical technology is so far behind that RFIDs are going to really be the impetus in order for us to get new technology in the medical field that's going to help people improve their quality of care, and that's what it's all about.
And I'm sorry, sir, did you just say you would get one implanted in your arm?
Absolutely, without a doubt.
Okay.
That's it.
No concerns? No concerns at all? Because I have to admit, it makes me a little queasy, makes me worry. What happens if it gets dislodged? Am I being irrational?
No, but just think of this. Now, if you were, wherever you are, if you're traveling, you're in New Jersey now and you're interviewing me in Washington, D.C.
Right.
Can you imagine if you were in Washington, D.C. and had an accident or had a stroke and went into the hospital? How long would it be before your records could get down here? How long would it take to be able to find out what sort of meds you're on or what allergies you have or what are you allergic to?
But people right now just use cards that are in their wallet. They carry around cards that say what my blood type is, if I have any allergies.
But the truth of the matter is the doctor doesn't know that, and the emergency ward certainly wouldn't. And the problem is that technology is so far behind in the medical field that people are dying every day because of the lack of technology. There 98,000 people died last year because of mistakes in hospitals and clinics across America. And a good share of those mistakes could have been prevented by technology. RFID is at the cutting edge of new technology is going to help to improve the quality of health and the quality of care for all Americans.
Mr. Silver.
at a school near you. Across the country, schools are finding ways to track and monitor students inside and outside the classroom. The techniques range from chips embedded in school ID cards to GPS systems installed in computers tracking students' every move to actual surveillance cameras. And it's happening in Texas. These are the IDs students are required to carry that have tracking trips built right into them, so teachers know where their students are at all times. Well, schools say the measures will help make kids safer, but is it just going too far? To discuss this, I'm joined now by RT web producer Andrew Blake, who just covered this story extensively on our website. Hi, Andrew.
Hey, Liz.
Good to have you here.
My pleasure.
So tell us more about these microchips.
Yeah, RFID, radio frequency identification chips, and they're used pretty regularly. I mean, I have one in my pocket right now, and if you have a New York State license.
You do?
Yeah. Well,
take a look
I mean, I don't really want to take out my driver's license and hold it in front of the camera.
That's understandable.
But we do have one in there, and I use it because I was born in New York State. I used to cross into the Canadian border all the time. I have an RFID chip in mine, just so that when I cross over, they know who I am, and they can go and they can scan it, and they can instantly pull up my file. You know, think of like a QR code that you see out on the street somewhere. And same concept in schools. You want to be able to chronicle as much data as you can about someone to justify some sort of good. At least that's what they're doing it for. In the case of Texas, we have a school district there where 2 schools so far this year have forced the students to wear these badges that have the cards inside of them, and they're using it as means of tracking the students so that they can try to cut down on the rampant truancy that's happening right there. Because in a lot of school districts, if you're not having kids showing up, the states aren't going to pay for the schools. The states are going to stop funding them. And this, I believe it's North Side District in Texas, includes San Antonio, I believe. They believe that these 2 schools right there, they're losing upwards of $175,000 a day in funding because students just aren't showing up to the class and the teachers can't keep track of them. So they figured, okay, well, if we know where the students are at all times, they're going to be held accountable. We'll know if they're in the class. We'll make sure we will have as accurate numbers as we possibly can. We'll be able to get that funding. We'll be able to know where everyone is. And it's great if you want to make sure that you're sending your child to a school where you're going to get the best education that the state's going to be able to afford. But at the same time, yes, instantly we're seeing all these privacy concerns just start mounting up. And they're being addressed in Texas, but unfortunately not necessarily in the best way. We have a case just recently where one student, she rejected this idea. She said, I'll carry a badge on me. You can have my name, you can have my photo, but I don't want to be tracked around the school because you can, from anywhere up to like 100 feet away, they can just buzz you in on a radio and they can find out like within a couple of inches where you are in the building. And it's just, it kind of just gives people the heebie-jeebies.
Understand. So students do not have a choice. This is mandated.
We're seeing that students and parents are starting to revolt slowly but surely, but so far the school district isn't really that concerned about their complaints. We have one case of a girl who said that it would violate her religious beliefs to be tracked consistently throughout the day. It would also obviously
religious beliefs.
Yes.
I understand privacy concerns and maybe constitutional concerns, but religious concerns.
The mark of the beast, to have this unknowing eye on her at all times. She said, my religion doesn't stand for it, and I don't want to have it. And the school said, okay, this is what we're going to do. You can go ahead and you can have your regular old ID badge. But we're going to start implementing this all the way through, and there are going to be repercussions. And some students are already seeing that. If they don't have their RFID chips, they're being told that they can't check out library books. They can't pay for their lunches in the cafeteria. They can't go into certain classrooms. And we had one case in Texas where someone was told that they couldn't vote for homecoming king and queen because they didn't have their card on them. So I don't want to say that it's, now they're,
should have been proud of that.
Thank you. I appreciate it. But a lot of people, though, have their concerns. They don't want everyone to know where they are, and they're worried that it's going to come back down on them, and they're going to be ridiculed. And we're already seeing they're being disqualified from participating in school-wide votes. They're being disqualified from picking up their lunches and being told that, no, you come back when you can prove who you are with a computer chip. And it has a lot of people uncomfortable.
All right now, so as far as I know, this is only in Texas, right?
There's a couple of cases of it happening in Texas. There are actually a few companies who market these devices services for schools and other institutes all over the world. But the case that we're seeing right now is in this one school board in Texas, and it's being tried out in 2 schools, one elementary school, one high school, impacting roughly around 6,000 people. But right now, it is just a pilot program. And
right, is this just the guinea pig? In other words, could we foresee this happening across the country and other school systems?
If this takes off, they're expecting within like a couple of years to have it advance in Texas and impact around 100,000 students in 122 different schools. And of course, like I said, it's going to be a slippery slope. If we see it working here, it's going to work somewhere else.
You got a chip in your ID card. Well, what happens next?
It's a very good question.
You're somewhere else.
There's actually, I saw someone saying online that it just prepares students for the real world, where they go enter adulthood and they are constantly monitored.
It's not the real world I went to school in.
Yeah,
but
times are changing, Liz.
Times are changing. That much is true.
One Texas teen has been told she won't be allowed to return to her school beginning on Monday. High school sophomore Andrea Hernandez.
Well, the point of the project supposedly is to raise money for the school. If they can put this program into effect, supposedly, and prove that they can increase attendance, they're supposed to make more money. But they've already spent $500,000 buying the chips from large corporate entities. So money is obviously being made here. But Andrea had a religious objection to the having to wear the chip and a privacy concern. I mean, even when she went in the bathroom, she had to have a chip on. Plus, she's not being treated equally. If she doesn't have the chip, she cannot access the library, cafeteria. She was told she couldn't vote the homecoming king or queen. So she also wanted to hand out a pamphlet in the hallways saying that giving her objections to why she didn't want to wear this chip, and they were told she was told she couldn't do that.
Well, from what I understand, though, the principal offered to actually have the chip taken out of the card. Why then does she still refuse to wear it?
Well, her father and her talk, they called me and they said, well, this is if she's still wearing the so-called smart ID or student locator badge, what she's saying is, I endorse the program. And they feel so strongly about it that they said she cannot and will not endorse the program. So we filed for a temporary restraining order on the constitutional issues, and we just got a judge who says that they were going to expel her from school and put her in another school, and the judge says they can't do that because of the constitutional issues involved. So she's going to be back in school, and there's going to be a hearing next week.
But this is so much bigger, John, than just one case. Talk a little bit about the legal precedent here. As you mentioned, the school already has surveillance cameras. Many schools have metal detectors. What's the bigger picture here?
The bigger picture here, this is the test project which is going to spread throughout the country. And the question is going to be, if those who do not opt into this program, will they be punished? As Andrea. Andrea is a very good student, by the way. Like you said, she doesn't cheat. She doesn't cheat. She does very well. This is a school that she worked her way to get into, and she's being punished while she will not go along with what she feels to be constitutional violation. So
every piece of technology is leading up to this. It's integrating. This kind of technology started with the adoption of social security numbers and other IDs, but it is now at the point of total high tech. It's being pushed on school kids, other vulnerable groups, people who haven't reached the age of consent, who don't yet have the wisdom to say no to this. But one family is saying no. We need so many more families to join them in that fight. We are joined now by the Hernandez family. They're in San Antonio saying no to the school that wants them to mandatorily wear an ID badge with an RFID tracker inside of it. Thanks for joining us. Steve, the father, Andrea at school there, and John J., and of course your son as well. Thanks for coming in.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Appreciate it.
So tell us about the specific program that's being introduced and some of the major issues going on in San Antonio, which, by the way, is being rolled out all across Texas and all across the nation. Right now, it's kind of in tester beta programs, but they want to expand it. So.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. This program is being implemented at John Jay High School and Anson Jones Middle School, the only 2 schools with the lowest attendance rate in the city. They're putting RFID tracking chips in their kids' badges. They want to make it mandatory, and they want to make the rest of the school district pick it up. And there's 112 schools in that school district.
So they're starting with 2, but it's going to 112 schools.
Absolutely, yes, sir.
Just in San Antonio.
Just in San Antonio, just in the NISD school district. They're making it mandatory that the kids have to wear it. If not, they cannot participate in certain programs at school. They cannot get their lunch or check out library books if they don't wear these badges. And we stood up and said, no, absolutely not, because we felt like it stepped on our religious freedom.
Right.
And when we got back into town, we got this letter from the NISD board saying that on August 10th, that this is when this letter was dated, that the kids would start wearing these badges, and they sent it out really close to the day that the kids had to go get their badges and register for school, because they didn't want any arguments, they didn't want anybody to resist it. But unfortunately for them, I resisted, and I went on my local news station. I said, no, my daughter will not wear this badge. They had already done a story and said, hey, we want to talk to you more about it. And now we are here today with you on your show to speak more about this.
And we do have a clip from that news piece, so let's go to that right now, and then we'll come back and enlarge the discussion.
Starting tomorrow, about 4,000 students at John Jay High School and Anson Jones Middle School must wear a new and controversial photo ID called the Radio Frequency Identification System. It tracks students while they're on campus. Some call it a spy chip. Andrea says many students just won't wear it.
I know that there's kids who, hey man, can you hold this? I'm going to go across the street to go get tacos.
She said others might stick it in a locker to avoid monitoring.
That NISD is a school district and not a government. For those who disagree with me, I'm fighting for you, your children, your families, not just for my 2 children and my family. I'm fighting for every person out there. I've been misquoted several times saying that I said this is the mark of the beast and all this fun stuff. I didn't say it was the mark of the beast. I said this is how they condition the people. Okay, but there's a correlation there.
Oh yeah.
Because in the Bible it says you can't buy, sell, you can't participate pretty much in the economy if you don't have the mark of the beast. But guess what? In that school, they're being told, hey, you can't buy your lunch unless you have this badge. You can't get your library books unless you have this badge. Sounds very similar to me.
It was extremely prescient, and people like to discount Bible prophecy, but it's so strongly worded. Everyone knows about that passage. You could read it if you want. How did they know that was coming? Doesn't matter if it's just dictators, if it's just men on earth and not devils running things, they've still gone with the same plan.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, if the Bible wasn't true, I wouldn't be sitting here today with you. That's just plain and simple. If it wasn't in there, it wasn't written. I was 5 years old when my parents started teaching me the Bible and taking me to church. Now imagine, if you will, 11 o'clock at night, you're 5 years old, you can barely keep your eyes open, your dad has you down on the carpet talking to you and reading you the Bible, and he starts talking about the mark of the beast, talking to you about these little chips they want to put in you the size of a grain of rice. You don't know what to think. You're a child. But here I am, 42 years old, 37 years later, all of a sudden I find myself in the middle of it. Now, I'm in the middle of it, and I got to take care of my children. It is my responsibility as a parent to take care of my family, my wife, my son, my daughter. I have to stand up and protect them. And this is exactly what I'm doing today. I'm standing up to protect my wife and my children. And I'm not going to allow this to happen. We are not going to compromise our faith for NISD. We're not going to compromise it for the government. We're just not going to do it.